How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, my royal family, I found this article on a fluke, and I've done quite a bit of research and studying on it, and I have devoted a lot of time to it, and it is true and real and accurate. I know y'all see the title. So, we have here, Build the Wall from Hemp. Ex-Trump advisor floats his ideal for a barrier. Okay, well, if some people don't know what hemp is marijuana, hemp is weed, hemp is cannabis. You know, we got every kind of different name for cannabis. So, before I read the article, so here it is right here. So they are proposing to possibly build a wall of weed. And I'll make sure I read it correctly, but you know I gotta have a little fun with it, and I will make sure I pin the article. So I'll leave that right there so y'all can gaze at that, and let me read this article quickly, and then we have a video, and you know I'm gonna do it true royal style. I'm going to be very thorough in this, and anybody that is new to the true royal family, I have a construction background. I was a welder for 17 years, and if anybody is in the construction field, when it ain't nothing to do, you end up doing other things, and I'm very well versed in concrete. I've had to pour a lot of concrete because you don't get to weld all day, and you better learn to do something else so you can eat. So anyhow, let's get into this article. A coalition of President Donald Trump's allies are looking into whether they can privately fund a wall along the Mexico border made of hemp, or unquote marijuana. Former White House Chief Strategist Steve Bannon said that the group would also include former Kansas State Chris, let's say Kobach, and former Milwaukee, Wisconsin Sheriff David Coon Clark is consulting with a Kansas-based hemp company about the possibility of erecting a hemp creek wall along the southern border. The thinking is that because the Democrats are unlikely to budge and include taxpayers' funds for a border wall, in appropriations of the legislation's tongue-tied, damn. The group will pool the capital and influence to get the job done themselves. Do you understand the irony of using Hemp Creek to keep out marijuana? Question mark. Bannon told Politico, which first reported on the potential cannabis construction border barrier. That said, when Trump had spoken about his reasons for wanting a border wall when it comes to impending drug trafficking, he usually focused on opiates, cocaine, and methamphetamines, and hasn't mentioned cannabis in relations to the project. And of course, the wall isn't singularly about preventing drug trafficking, according to Trump. It is also meant to deter illegal immigrations, which have already been decreasing since 2007. The president claimed that there's an ongoing humanitarian crisis on the southern border that demands a physical barrier has been characterized by Democratic lawmakers as xenophobia. Attempted to rally his base and make a good on campaign promise that initially involved having Mexico foot the wall. Either way, drug enforcement officials have found that marijuana sieges have steadily declined as more states have legalized. It's not clear whether the president would back or propose to erect a privately funded wall made of hemp. A White House spokesman did not immediately respond to a request for the comment for the marijuana moment. American Hemp Academy, the company of Bannon Group reportedly partnered with, also did not reply to a request for a comment by the time of publication. The company, funded by a series entrepreneur who also owns a chain of delis and bread manufacturing company and outdoor wildlife hunting retreat, launched just in late December 2018, according to the Kansas City Business Journal. One thing is for sure, using Hempcrete for a large-scale infrastructure project would been harder to achieve just months ago when the crop was federally illegal to grow in the U.S. outside of the limit research programs and other imports from other countries were allowed. But since Trump signed the 2018 Farm Bill in law legalizing hemp, more widespread domestic cultivation is on the way, and cost of the product, includes Hempcrete, are likely to drop. Now, this is all speculation. Remember this. Experts expressing strong doubt to Politico through the Bannon Group could raise enough funds to actually execute their plan, whether it's made of hemp or some other material. Coming up with enough money to build a wall stretching thousands of miles would set investors back by billions of dollars, not to mention the potential regulatory complications a private company would face dealing with federal departments such as the Environment Protection Agencies. Still, as far as the border wall proposals go, Hempcrete barrier would at least represent a more environmentally substantially material compared with normal concrete. But again, the practical and the political hurdles that the White House and outside groups face in securing funds for any kind of barrier have provided daunting. Okay, so I got a video for the royal family so y'all can continue to hear this rhetoric, and I'm gonna point out some stuff to the royal family, so I want y'all to hear this gibberish.
Proposed in the art of the deal, the art of compromise, a metal slat fence that would be an effective deterrent on our southern border to illegal immigration. But our next guest, Adam Powers with 9 Fiber LLC, has a different idea. Adam, welcome back to the War Room.
Thank you for having me again, Roger.
So tell us, I know that you were very excited about the president signing a bill that authorized once again the farming of industrial hemp of the United States. And I know that you yourself have developed a number of proprietary processes for innovative uses of hemp. But I understand that hemp can be used to make some kind of concrete that is both less expensive and more durable than our standard concrete, and that you have an idea for the wall. Lay it on us.
That's correct. I believe the president should not falter on his idea for a concrete wall. I think that the more he tries to negotiate with Pelosi and Chuck, the more they just turn it around and make him look like an ass. And I hate to say that because I respect our president with all my heart, but he needs to stand firm, and the American people have spoken. Steel slates are not going to be as effective as a 30-foot concrete wall. It doesn't have to be an eyesore. We can have some of America's young, talented Democrat artists come down there and paint beautiful murals if they'd like to. But the areas of the wall that I suggest need to be built are the areas in the desert where we do not want humans to be brought through because it's treacherous terrain, it's dangerous for anyone doing it, and we do want to put up a sign that says, please do not come through this, a deterrent for people to know that they shouldn't come through there. This wall could be monitored with cameras, and this wall could easily be monitored with drones. But the fact is, there'd be nobody that could get through the wall, and as a deterrent, people would have to go another way. If they went another way, like you said, we could have a beautiful big port of entry basically right there at the southern border that says, come in legally, and you don't have to go through all of the hardship of the human trafficking and the coyotes that smuggle people across the border. Not to mention that those are the areas where it's very difficult for our border patrol to even patrol because as terrain, it's very difficult. So those are the areas where drug smugglers take advantage of. If we put a 20-foot deep, 30-foot high wall that's 2 feet wide, not only would it act as a barrier, but it also, if made with hemp, it can reduce the CO2 in the air, simultaneously pleasing Nancy Pelosi with her next agenda as far as addressing the greenhouse situation. This would be America and Donald Trump's contribution to lower the CO2 from here on to generations, as this wall made with hempcrete would petrify, literally like the Egyptian rocks on the pyramid. This would petrify, and as it petrifies, it sucks in the CO2, reducing the United States' carbon footprint.
So a lot of people find it hard to believe that hemp, a plant, can be used to make a durable concrete. Can you address that?
Absolutely. The misconception is that the leaf part of the plant is what is used to make concrete, and quite frankly, it's not. When hemp or marijuana grows, or any plant for that matter, there's a stalk or a stem, okay? Once you remove the skin or the actual green part from around that stalk or stem, the stalk hardens and becomes like wood, very hard wood. If this wood is ground up and added to industrial lime, then it can be made into a sand pour-like mixture that becomes liquid stone and literally petrifies over time. With 2 weeks, minimum of 2 weeks drying, you would have a solid structure that could be made in a matter of weeks. It could start going up with the existing waste of the hemp industry currently on the market.
Owen, do you have a question for Adam Powers?
Well, I think that there's so many, I didn't even think about the use. I mean, I didn't know about this technology until Adam was just mentioning it, how it could reduce the CO2 just by absorbing it and it petrifying over time. This is actually, it's funny because we talk about this being a new industry or a new market. This is actually an old industry. Hemp used to be a huge industry, especially in the West. Just look at the history of George Washington and others. But it's like the same thing with the pyramids. Like there's so many ancient technologies that they used in Egypt just with basic building techniques and elements that they used, and you just don't really see it applied anymore. Some of the quartz sometimes. But let me ask you this. I think that this is an amazing thing where it's like an introduction for the entire hemp industry, because I'm actually amazed. This is such a huge opportunity for investors, a huge opportunity for entrepreneurs. I mean, there is so much you can do in the hemp industry, which is pretty much untapped right now. This could be like almost a moment for the hemp industry. You build this wall and people are like, oh, wow, what's that stuff? And then it's all of a sudden people have interest in hempcrete. And then people are like, maybe I should invest in this. They get a big return on their investment. Now they're looking at other hemp industries to invest in. So it could almost spur an entire industry that the West could then dominate.
Absolutely. And what we're talking about is creating an industry where the United States can now export globally, okay? We're talking about a bio-friendly process. The process that I created makes mechanical decortication a thing of the past. With mechanical decortications, there was limitations. With the chemical process that I created, it creates oxygen. The oxygen is what takes apart the plant. The byproduct of my process is oxygen and water. So simply by processing the hemp, which is needed for the wall, by processing it with my process, we put oxygen into the atmosphere. So all around what we have is a hemp concrete, which is stronger than concrete, more durable, can withstand the stress fractures, mold resistant, compels water resistant, fire resistant, and it's much stronger than normal concrete and much cheaper. And in the process of making it, you're actually eliminating CO2 gases. And while it's made, it stands to petrify, which eliminates CO2 gases while it exists.
Well, and I'm looking at two major opportunities for victory here for President Trump. One, you can use this as a political virtue signal issue, if you will, and kind of pander to the left, like you said. Oh, look at the carbon footprint we're saving here. We're saving the world from greenhouse gases. Wow, look what we did with this wall. It's amazing. And now we're sucking up the CO2. Oh, we're so good. Nancy, don't you think this is great? And then force the Democrats to kind of go along with it or show their hand for what they really are, which is just disruptors that don't want to negotiate. And then, I mean, Trump is a guy that understands marketing. I mean, is there a better opportunity to market a wall as a national monument? You have the Great Wall of China. How about the Great Wall of America? How about the Great Wall of America? People will come visit it.
And you know what? We can make America great again by securing our border and by bringing industry back by creating a wall, producing concrete as an export, hemp concrete, because the United States can grow in all 50 states. So now farmers can grow with the incentive of knowing that they're producing a global export. This is exactly what Donald Trump wanted. Other parts of this can also be used in all of the cars today. There's a filament that could be made for it for rechargeable batteries.
This is just an industry just waiting to boom, and it was one of the biggest industries in 1770. I mean, it was like, what are we waiting for? Let's get rich off this stuff.
All right, my royal family, let me shut that down. Okay, so I looked deeper into this, and I wanted to see the advantages and the disadvantages of this stuff. And let's go over here. Now, let's see here. Let's see if was it this one? Oh, no, it was not. Let me go by the one that I seen. One thing that when I was doing my research here, they still don't have enough study. They have not had enough study and enough data to feel like this is going to, you know, how could I put it? They are using it, but they're not using it on the scale that Trump and them want to use this stuff on. And when I seen here, yes, it's cost effective. It's not too bad on the environment, but you still got to have the lime in it. It ain't no way around it to solidify, so you're still putting chemicals in it. Now, the disadvantages that it had that stood out to me, because I checked numerous places, is that the use of this concrete is not good when it comes to global warming. Quite interesting to me that it would be affected by that, and I don't understand all of that part of that, but that's something that they keep saying. Another thing that I do know about concrete, over time, concrete, concrete hardens and hardens and hardens because it has lime in it, it has lots of calcium in it, and it gets stronger. And if you ever want a brick home, I would highly recommend you using old bricks because they're more durable. And And this was a shocker to me. I found out that it's you can't reuse it. So once you tear it down, you can't reuse the hemp bricks and stuff. And it makes sense because still it's plant-based, and anything that's plant-based is biodegradable. It's going to break down eventually. So there's some breakdown in it. And they said the availability is poor because can you imagine you building thousands of miles of wall? That's a lot of cannabis to grow. So you got to have multiple places to cultivate it and get the right mix. Even when you are pouring concrete, you have to make sure that mix is right, the right slump. Anybody that's in the construction field know what I'm talking about when I say slump and stuff. And so I thought that was quite interesting that you could not reuse it, but it makes sense when you go back and you look at it over here, because you're looking at it here, and that's still plant base, and it's still mixed with other materials, so you can just see with the naked eye you can't reuse it. It makes a lot of sense, because this is what you're looking at right here. This is basically what you're looking at in its rawest form, and then it has to have other chemicals in put into it. Here are some carbon negative hemp walls. And like I said, I'm new to this, so I'm only telling you what little I know. Because if I don't know something, I ain't going to be speaking on it, and this is something new. But I can just see with my trained eye, because I'm looking at plant and stuff, so it will flake off and stuff. So I would imagine that there would have to be some type of cure, which we do put cure on concrete to solidify it, but they would have to have something special made up, because you don't want that stuff to flake off. So Trump and them is that damn desperate to try something on that scale. And and you know, we were talking about it on Lisa Cabrera. You know, once folks found out, you know, just on a joking tip, once people realize this is a wall of weed, can you imagine what it would attract? You know, just on the joking side. Here's right here. There's somebody installed it in flooring and stuff. So it would have to be also resistant to fire. And I personally, building a wall on that scale, I personally don't think it's going to be good to do. Realistically, you want steel enforcement along with concrete, you know. I can see it on smaller scales, you know, like here they're building a house or something like that, and it be possibly environment friendly. But like I said, based on my research, even though they're saying that they have been using this stuff for eons and stuff, why it's not used on a broader scale in the construction field? That is the question that I would ask, because what little that I know, and maybe somebody can enlighten me, is that there's a lot you got to do to get it to mimic concrete. And I'm not saying that I'm knocking it, but I ain't feeling it either. You know, you're not feeling it when it's something new like this. And this ain't gonna be the first video that I'm gonna do on it, because I'm gonna look even deeper about this, because I see that it is being used. And anytime the enemy smell money, they ready to jump into it. But still, there's still that a lot has to be done. It really has to be. It really has a lot to be done. I'm not going by words, because even in the construction field that I was telling on Lisa's channel when we did our hangout today, you got to have testing done. And they test for how much pressure this can take per square inch, like they do in welding, which I do know well because I am a certified welder. And don't ever be all excited about what they're talking about, because I want to hear the pros and I want to hear the cons. But a wall on that scale built with this stuff, that I think it's a waste of the taxpayers' money. And when they saying it's not the disadvantage, let's go back over here. The disadvantage, not non-renewable materials. That's what it's saying, non-renewable. Let's see. All right, some of that stuff don't matter. I'm looking at what really matters. Yeah, that's what I would like to know. What kind of temperature that it can withstand, you know. And people don't know concrete got a lot of toxic stuff in it, you know. And that's just the go-to thing. And I'm still looking at this. Look at this stuff. I'm looking at this stuff. And it's just too porous for me. That's my concern. It's just way too porous. It's, you know, still at the end of the day, okay, yeah, they showing, you know, they didn't build some homes and stuff with this, but you look at all the other material around it, and you got a wall, you got a wall, and you're out there in the middle of those elements. I wouldn't feel comfortable. It requires steel. It requires way much more. I would want to see more testing in it and stuff. This is the first time I ever heard of anything like this. And now see, you got it right here for installation. See, it would be excellent for installation. Some things that you can just look with the naked eye and say, yeah, I can see that using hemp to insulate my house would be excellent. But then when you start getting into building, using bricks to build a wall with hemp, and you got to mix all these different materials in it, it just doesn't look stable. You know, that's not a quality looking brick to me. And I'm building a wall to keep people out of it. I'm just saying, like I always say, do your own thinking. But I'm not saying I'm not saying to knock it totally, but for a wall, hell no. To build parts of your house, a mixture of materials, you know, if I was building a house, yeah, I would use part of it for certain things, but you know, my main walls and everything up, because I want to live in that house, no, I would go back to using regular concrete, because that has been proven to work. I can use it as a floor because it's not exposed to the elements. You know, it's got its pros and it's got its cons, basically. You know, and when you can't reuse something, that's a problem. That's a big problem, my Royal family. So I'm just giving my best observation of this stuff from based on my research, and I'm not going to act like I'm an expert in it. So, my Royal family. So, what do y'all think about Trump? You know, him and his cronies. Where was I at on that? I think it was this right here. So, what do y'all think about Trump and his cronies? They're saying that they using hemp and lime water, and they're lying. You've got to use other materials in it. I know what I'm talking about. They're lying. And you know, that's Trump's and his partners. yeah, if it didn't have those other things, yeah, it would naturally be non-toxic. Last for hundreds of years. I don't know. You out there, you got a wall. Flame and water and pest resistance. Anything can come down, and we are not God. I hate hearing people insult the Creator like that and saying, oh, this can last for hundreds and hundreds of years and stuff like that. We don't know that. We just simply don't know that. I've seen bridges come down. We've seen them on TV. I've seen huge buildings come down with poor constructions. I've seen things collapse. I've worked in the construction field. I know what I'm talking about on this and stuff. And this is something, to me, is still something that they experiment with. And you see them with this stuff? I mean, it's, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it on that basis. I'm really not. So I could be way off, my royal family. So check this out. Render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.